Hello and welcome back to season 7 of the NMMA. We just completed a very exciting first sim, and in the deadline prior, RJ's Bucks made some monumental trades that shook up not just their own franchise, but the landscape of the entire Eastern Conference. They moved basically their entire young core. Not just lottery picks from the past 2 years in Jaylen Brown and Miles Turner, not just Shabazz Napier and Jabari Parker, the lottery picks from the year prior to that, but a couple of picks, Brandon Knight and Evan Fournier, to bring in, now of course, Raymond Sessions and Mason Plumlee, respect to be on their name, but also Kevin Love and three-time champion Kyrie Irving has officially left the reigning champ Houston Rockets to join the Bucks as well. Combine that with the fact that they signed Kyle Lowry away from the Eastern Finals representative Cleveland Cavs and signed longtime vet Paul Pierce, and the Bucks are ready to rumble. Now let's jump into the standings and see how true that holds in the Eastern Conference. As you can see, the Bucks, unfortunately but not too surprisingly, are taking a little bit of time to get their new chemistry together. The St. Vincent St. Mary Fighting Irish still have, honestly, a stranglehold on the East for the time being, and that should be kind of to be expected. With a couple of seasons under the belt between Chris Paul and LeBron James now, and after bringing in DeAndre Jordan, who's obviously one of the best lob threats and pick setters in the league, they have a very solid core. Now, that being said, their point differential has fallen by about 3 or 4 points since last season, so I mean, that is something to watch a little bit. The Eastern Finals representatives, finally, Cleveland Cavaliers, unfortunately lost Kyle Lowry in the offseason and now are starting James Harden at the 1. But that seems to be working just fine. 20-8 is an absolutely great record. With the plus 4.3 differential, they probably could improve just a little bit, but honestly, that might be able to be done internally just because James Harden is that good. Not to mention the rest of their surrounding core. The Orlando Magic are back in the 3 seed with Brandon Jennings, Tyreke Evans, Jay Smoove, Biyombo, of course, the Harden nightmare, and Nikola Pekovic with Ricky Rubio off the bench. They are very dominant yet again with a plus 8.2 differential. Could they have another playoff run? Time will tell. The Chicago Bulls, not terribly far behind. That's only 3 wins less and just a game and a half back since they played fewer games. However, they have a barely positive point differential at 0.1. This offense really is a little bit stunted. It's kind of surprising. Roy Hibbert seems to slow paces down, and that may be a part of this after they traded away DeAndre Jordan. So a little bit less of a lob threat. I think he takes a few more mid-range shots, so that may be contributing to it. But nevertheless, 4 seed, absolutely respectable. Tied in games back with them, but with fewer wins, the New York Knicks in the 5 seed. They are probably the best they've been since like the first couple of seasons, and what do you know? I don't know if anybody in this team, I think probably Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is now playing a bigger role, and so perhaps he's developed, and that's contributing to a good amount of this, but their defense probably could improve a little bit, but 108.7, pretty respectable in terms of an offense for that kind of role player type core. The Atlanta Hawks, kind of a surprise all the way down in the 6th seed here. They are starting Nerlens Noel, which I'm not sure if they were doing at the end of last season, so perhaps that and some system tweaks could contribute to their need to improve, but giving up 111 points per game is not good. I think that may be one of the worst in the East. The Indiana Pacers, not too far behind in the 7th seed. They made a huge trade with the Lakers, moving a couple of their picks to bring in Ty Lawson, as well as someone else. I can't quite remember. Who was it? Was it Lee Erickson? No, Lee Erickson was traded. I don't know. At any rate, at 17-13, they are just a half game back from being a playoff team, and they have an exactly even point differential, down to the decimal point. That's hilarious. I don't expect that to stand, but they are clearly doing quite a bit better after a bit of prog to both Jokic and Kat. The Milwaukee Bucks, in the 8th seed, they probably are expecting to be quite a bit better. With this much amazing top-end talent, honestly, Yusuf Nurkic has now developed into a pretty respectable center. They have their sights set on at least a guaranteed playoff team, and I think they're going to get there. I think they're probably better than the Knicks and the Pacers, and the Bulls probably, and the rest of the 4, time will tell. The Washington Wizards, at the first under 500 team in the East, they made the surprising decision to trade Kevin Love to the Bucks. So it's interesting that they're in contention for that play-in spot right there. Um, Joel Embiid seems to be having a great season, but I'm going to be very curious to see if Shabazz Napier and Jabari Parker pan out for the Wizards. The New Jersey Nets, after not just drafting Ben Simmons number one overall and signing Serge Ibaka and Tyson Chandler and Wes Matthews, very active free agency, they have improved from I think a 15 seed up to a 10 seed, are now perhaps in the play-in race. Probably a good thing for Ben Simmons Prague to come up. The Toronto Raptors, not too far behind, but just outside of the play-in. This is kind of surprising. They were, I think, a 3 seed to end last season, and they didn't really change any of their core and didn't have that much regression from Darren Williams, while a lot of the rest of their core progressed a little bit. So that is kind of surprising. But they are just under 0 for their point differential, so things could possibly change and pick their way up. The Philadelphia 76ers, down in the 12 seed. Not too much to say about this team. I think Buddy Hield has progressed a good amount. The Montreal Voyagers. They are the rebranded Charlotte Hornets. It's the first time you're seeing their nice jerseys. They are ass. What can you say? The Detroit Pistons, down in the 14 seed. I kind of wasn't expecting them to be this bad, especially because Vooch is really having a great season. But here they are, and very curious to see if their new management will turn it around sooner or later. And the Miami Heat, after trading away Kevin Durant and losing Zebo to go re-team up with KD in Seattle, they are the 15 seed in the East, and that's exactly where they want to be. They have some great building pieces here between Jamal Murray, Malcolm Brogdon, Justice Winslow, Pascal Siakam. Edmund Wagner's honestly a pretty good center. Michael Carter-Williams. So to bring in yet another high lottery pick will be huge for them. I think it's a pretty rapid rebuild they're undergoing. Now moving over to the West, the Houston Rockets. I can't explain this, man. I am not trying to be good, and honestly, our defense is even better than it was last year. It's kind of crazy. After trading away Kyrie Irving, we're starting Gordon Hayward with more minutes, and traded away Kobe before for Jordan Crawford. Don't know how to explain it. This team is absolutely firing on all cylinders with the league best plus 19 point differential. However, only 4.5 games back and only 3 wins down, the Denver Nuggets are still absolutely in pursuit of a chip. And with me slowly trending down, I want to get Jaylen Brown some minutes. I would absolutely suspect that they're going to take the 1 seed sooner than later. Just 1 game back from them. How about that? Our first NMMA champion now completed an entire cycle of a rebuild with a plus 8.2 differential out the gate after trading for original draftee Kevin Durant and signing Zach Randolph with an amazing fit with this team. They are absolutely steamrolling and could be a deep playoff contender out the gate, which is impressive to see. The Los Angeles Lakers have a plus 3.3 differential, so perhaps they should be a little bit further back. However, 21 wins, so that's 2 more than Seattle. So it's crazy that the division rule is keeping them down. This team is clicking. I know they're extremely deep, but it's kind of surprising to me. There isn't like a real clear top scorer. I guess the acquisition of Brandon Knight is really huge for them. He is a very good stabilizing point guard, kind of in like the Mike Conley sort of vein. A little bit worse defense, but maybe better scoring. The Minnesota Timberwolves, down from the 3 seed last season, I wouldn't be too concerned. They had some great prog from Giannis and Andre. Did they have regression from Luol Deng? I don't know. I don't think they did. It's still an extremely strong team. It's probably just going to take a little bit more time to feel out with the new landscape of the West. The Spurs, not too far behind. They made their amazing trade for Damian Lillard. Whew. Dame, Eric Bledsoe, DeMar DeRozan, Tobias Harris, Marc Gasol, Jeremy Grant. Such an amazing set of 2010s players all here. Golden State Warriors, they made their big trade for Kobe. And honestly, it's not crazy because you bring in a player of that high usage. And I think they traded away their starting point guard as well. It's going to take a little bit of time for this chemistry to click, but look at that top 4. Klay Thompson, Kobe, Dirk Nowitzki, and reuniting Kobe with Pau Gasol. The hype is through the roof, and this team is going to be much better. I would expect them to be a top 4 seed. The Portland Trail Blazers, impressive. They signed Danilo Gallinari. It had some good prog to Kristaps Porzingis and Steven Adams. And it looks like Norm Hickman is like maybe approaching his ceiling. This team is finally clicking. They also made their huge trade of Mike Conley for Drew Holiday. So they're a 500 team now and pretty firmly in the play-in. Another big shock, the Sacramento Kings, with only a plus 2.3 differential after acquiring Mike Conley, who seems like just the ideal point guard to pair with this team. It's not clicking that much. His scoring is down, although Rudy Gay's scoring is up, and it may just be a chemistry thing. That's probably what I'm chalking it up to, because this should be a top three team. The New Orleans Pelicans, not crazy far behind after trading Damian Lillard for three firsts, Tomas Satoransky, and I think another point guard. Deep team. They seem very interested in selling Chris Bosh. Very curious to see where they take this and how well Bradley Beal can do on a somewhat struggling team, but with as the number one scoring option. The Phoenix Suns, after signing Kevin Garnett, I really expected this team's defense to be a lot better. He is still very serviceable, even in year 22 as a 40-year-old. But with a negative .7 differential, they are outside of the play-in, and that is kind of surprising, pretty disappointing. The Utah Jazz, with a negative 4.1 differential, marks the second season of Paul George struggling here. Ever since they downgraded from Rodney Stuckey, they've kind of been on the way down. Beautiful New Jerseys here, though. Curious to see if they make an acquisition or if they, choose to break up some of the core. They're in an interesting position. Vancouver Grizzlies with a negative 6.5 differential. They keep falling deep in the tank. I don't know what is causing this. After acquiring Andrew Bogut, I really thought that this team would do better. When they didn't, I was like, okay, whatever. They need some time to figure it out, but. This is a pretty solid core. I like Bargnani at the 4. I think they've had some good prog from Roy McCormick. I don't know why the team isn't working better. The Albuquerque Axolotls are pretty much exactly where they want to be, but they are having a great season nevertheless from Mayor Matthews, CJ McCollum, Julius Randle. All progressed and all are putting up way better stats than you would expect. And DeJounte Murray, shout out, the rookie, looking pretty good. And in the 15 seed with a negative 15.4 differential. Not good. The Dallas Mavericks, that is good. That's exactly where they want to be. After drafting Brandon Ingram to pair with Devin Booker, that is a team that is just built to dominate in the future. So, you know what? Let them develop, let them get the reps in, get another high lottery pick, and who knows what the ceiling of this team could be with that lottery pick in there. Okay, so next, let's jump into team stats. First, we're going to sort by points per game. You see the Rockets, unsurprisingly, up in front by about 5 points. The Hawks at number 2 is a little bit surprising since they're all the way down to a 6 seed. It continues to just be crazy that a team that is led by Kawhi and AD with, Nerlens Noel, Kendall Marshall is a great defender as well, that they have one of the worst defenses around. We'll see exactly where they rank. But the second best offense. What can you say? Supersonics defense being this good is kind of crazy, but of course they do have Rudy Gobert. Number 2, not too far behind the Supersonics. Behind the Timberwolves, is pretty good. You see the Hawks, wow, with the 4th worst defense. That's unbelievable. It makes no sense with their team. And for offensive rating, you see, if there's a huge discrepancy between the ratings and your points per game or points allowed per game, that usually indicates that you may regress to the mean. Especially with smaller samples of just Sim 1. Rockets tied with the Timberwolves as the best defense. That's kind of crazy. No, Hawks also 4 here. And point differential. Pretty tight race between the probably like spots 2 through 6 in terms of point differential as other top contenders next to the Rockets. And for field goals made. Sonics surprisingly about middle of the pack considering how much top-end scoring talent they have. Bucks at 18 with field goals attempted is kind of surprising. They have so many bucket getters, you'd think that more people are going to do it. Perhaps that'll come with time. Spurs with a brand new star point guard opening the out the gate at number 2 in field goal percentage for the team. That is very hopeful. That might indicate that this team could do even better. And for 3-pointers made, Rockets kind of fallen. I mean, of course, after trading Kyrie, that kind of makes sense. Hawks number 1 in 3-point percentage, but like number 20 or 21 in terms of 3-pointers attempted. That absolutely indicates part of their issue. If they can up those 3-point attempts, then I mean they may be able to outpace any sort of strange defensive struggles that they're having just by pace. For free throws made, Kings at number 3 is promising. That'll be important in the playoffs. And number 1 in free throws attempted. Of course, Cavs still very, very strong even after losing Kyle Lowry just because of having both Harden and Butler. I think and Mirotic gets to the line a bunch. And free throw percentage. Rockets in the bottom quartile. Let's just go rebounds per game. Rondo keeping the Bulls in the top 5 in terms of assists per game. Wolves so low in assists per game. They really could benefit from another scoring point guard. Maybe I'm curious how Nate would do with the 2. Wolves have overtaken the Hawks in terms of blocks per game, just barely. We'll do turnovers. So this is best to worst now. Seattle leading the league in the lowest amount of turnovers per game is very promising for them as well, especially as a new team trying to work out their chemistry. That team, the sky is truly the limits. And fouls. Fighting Irish and Bulls being that low as contenders is quite good. They play smart ball. And points off turnover. Suns still number 2 in second chance points. That team protects their misses. Yeah, sure, we'll do points in the paint. Fighting Irish number 1 in points in the paint. I don't know that DeAndre Jordan is scoring that much to justify that, but I guess we have post LeBron just on full overdrive. And for bench points, Wizards number 1. That's kind of surprising. Shabazz Napier might be cooking off the bench for them. Wonder if he's going to be in line for a 6-man. We'll do do opponent field goal percentage. Oh, shoot. There we go. This is the best. Wizards number 4 is quite impressive as well. You know, the Wizards, I don't love the Love trade. I think that he was such an amazing fit next to Joel Embiid that it was probably more worth holding on to him. But if you are going to do it, they do seem to have something going there. Now they have some more picks to play with too, so curious to see where they head. Okay, that'll do that. Now let's take a look at the rookie report. So Buddy Hield leading rookies in terms of points per game. Why is that not sorting right? There we go. No, Jamal Murray, that is much better. 35 minutes per game, that's going to do it. 18.6 points per game. But I mean, hey, the 4.3 assists, you do love to see that. He is shooting like garbage, but who cares? Brandon Ingram, big shout out at .458. That's pretty good. Gershon Yabusele, one of the most talked about prospects, shooting .524 out the gate. Really proving that he's a great fit and hopefully is going to add to the defensive prowess of the Hawks. Pascal Siakam averaging 10 rebounds out the gate is pretty great. This is going to be an interesting Rookie of the Year race. It's probably going to be Jamal Murray, but we shall see. DeJounte Murray leading in assists with 5.7 is pretty great, especially off the bench. Plenty of ball to go around in Albuquerque. Yeah, wow. 10.3 rebounds, 1.5 steals, 1.9 blocks. Pascal Siakam is just a defensive beast as a rookie. That's huge for Miami, for their future. Okay, now let's take a look at picks. Remember that this is the final year that you need to mentally switch. Any 2017 pick that says Fighting Irish actually means that is a Trailblazers pick and vice versa. Any 2017 pick that says Trailblazers is actually a Fighting Irish pick. But 2018 and onwards, so as soon as we hit next season, the names will match, and so there'll be no confusion there. Ton of picks for the Hawks, ton of picks for the Heat. The Heat having that extra Voyagers pick this year is going to be huge for them. They might have 2 top lottery picks in an absolutely stacked 2017 draft. Man, if they land Tatum and somebody else, that KD trade is going to look amazing for them in the future. Which is not something that you usually say when trading a like 3-time scoring title holder. First year that the Voyagers, they don't have their own pick, but they have the Pistons, who are pretty bad, so that's actually great for them. And a Raptors pick, and they seem to be struggling, so the dark ages of the Voyagers may be taken off. Okay, next let's take a look at cap sheets. Let me make sure that the salary cap is turned on, unlike we've done for the past 6 seasons. So even though we may be gaining control over the salary cap again in-game, please be updating your sheet for this season and this season only. Well, hopefully this season and this season only. Because if it does not work, then we will still need a way to manually track it. And regardless, it's going to be very good for just tracking any sort of dead cap bugs, since 2K keeps so much dead cap on the books, like you can see right here with Patrick Patterson. I don't think that's real dead cap by any means. Okay. Now let's take a look at player stats. Long last. Okay, so starting off with the 76ers. Buddy Hield, amazingly, as a rookie, is leading the way in terms of scoring. Bogdan Bogdanovic not far behind at all, 15.7 points per game. They're presently running quite a tight rotation here. CJ McCollum with 26.3 points per game. Wow. On a pretty reasonable 47.1% from the field, too. So it's not like this is not sustainable. That is huge for the axolotls here. Almost 40% from three, too. So, I mean, very reasonable stats that, I mean, could they improve? We'll see if he becomes a better shooter. Kyrie Irving leading the way with 21.5 points per game. 6 assists, 1.6 steals. The chemistry still needs to be worked out for this team, but mark my words, they are going to be great in due time. 45% from three from Kyrie. Maybe he should be taking even more shots. For the Bulls, a little bit of regression in scoring from Blake Griffin is kind of surprising. But I mean, still 22.5 points per game. You can't be too upset about that. 12 rebounds. Mirotic leading the way for the Cavaliers. That's kind of crazy. Just barely ahead of Harden. 18.4 and 18.5 points. Can they make it back to the finals? Time will tell. They have a fairly tall order with a much deeper East now. Edmund Wagner, 15, 11.6, 1.1 steals, 1.4 blocks. Wow, he is a much better center than I was expecting. What's his shooting from the field? Only .455, but could improve. What is he? 23 years old? I mean, yeah, that could still get better. 31.1 points per game for Paul George and not good enough for a play-in slot. What does he have to do? .522 from the field, .402 from three. Just incredible considering how much the team is struggling. 2.1 steals per game, 1.3 blocks. Almost 3.5 stocks. That's just insane. Under 20 points per game for Boogie for the first time in a while. Not what you expect whenever you bring in Mike Conley and you think that he's going to pace things out. Give it time. This team will slap. Brook Lopez having a great season. 17 and 7. 2 assists is pretty good for him. 1.5 blocks. Watch him develop a three-point shot like at age 30, just like he did in real life. Brandon Knight with 16.5 and 7.5 assists. Wow. I was underestimating him. 46% from the field, 37%, 38 almost percent from three. Very efficient and just a great acquisition all around for the Lakers. Dennis Schroeder surprisingly leading the Mavs in scoring. Wow. Devin Booker honestly substantially behind. Gotta love this Mavs team. I know they're struggling, but who cares? That they have so many exciting scorers, and they're definitely only going to get better. Kind of crazy. This is a play-in team. Nobody above 14.1 points per game. What is going on? Is that defense just that good? That team should be abysmal. Of course, Curry became an even better three-point shot over the offseason. 37%, very respectable clip. (18, 9, 7.7 from Nikola Jokic, shooting 41% from three as a third-year center. That is, oh boy, that is better than Jokic is in real life potentially. He's only 21 years old. Watch out for the Pacers. Bradley Beal, 22 points per game. Chris Bosh back up to 20 and 10 since Dame left. Man, he may thrive as a second option more than people are giving him credit for. People treat him like he's washed, like he's too old, but I mean, he is still just an incredible contributor. 32 years old, he's still got, a few years. Not going to have those, what was it, blood clot issues that he had in real life? See, Pistons, this is what you expect out of a team that only has like one 15-point per game scorer. Just way more struggles than the Nets are having. Hats off to the Nets. Clint Flores, our reigning sixth man of the year, just barely beat out Kyrie. John Wall, just under 20 points per game is kind of shocking. Ryan Anderson back up to 15 points per game, even though he's playing like 25 minutes. That's kind of nuts. DeMar DeRozan over Dame Lillard, but the pairing seems to be working, and they're only going to get better, both as they progress and as they figure the chemistry out. I really like this pairing. This team probably needs just like a little bit more defense. Maybe they want to start Jeremy Grant, but we'll see what they do. 21, 5.65, 1.8 steals, 1.2 blocks from Dwayne Wade. It's just crazy. The defensive numbers that he's still putting up at like 35, 36 years old. How old is he? Actually, I might be overrating that. Let's see. He's 34. 34. Just one of the sim absolute goats during this league. Supersonics. Kevin Durant, 24 points per game, a little bit lower than you would expect, but he's never had a team this deep with this many scoring options. Big shout out to D'Lo for getting 9 assists per game now. Giannis with 28, only 4.5 assists, but that'll probably get even better as time wears on. 14.7 and 12.8 rebounds for Andre Drummond is pretty crazy. very balanced team here, but I mean, yet again, this is kind of shocking that they have a lot of double-digit scorers, far more than the Nets do. But no clear first option, which I'm curious what that means for the Trailblazers in the long term. The new third Canadian team, the Montreal Voyageurs. Dirk, under 20 points per game now. 17.6 and 11.2 rebounds for Old Man Powell is quite impressive. I didn't see, but I'm curious if Kobe's efficiency is still as good. I mean, yeah, .522, that's quite good. Late Kobe, just one of the smartest scorers out there. Not a chucker, just all of a sudden. And the Wizards round things out. Embiid looking absolutely dominant. What's he up to? Yeah, I mean, 11 rebounds per game, 2.1 blocks, 1.1 steals. Is he going to be in the DPOY race? I don't know. I don't quite think he's there, but he's not too far off. All right, now let's take a look at league leaders. Oops. Okay, so Paul George yet again leading the league in scoring with 31 points per game. Big shout out to CJ McCollum at number 4. Kyrie Irving up to number 13. Shockingly, he's only improved his scoring by a little bit from the Rockets, but I mean, he is on yet another deep team. Kevin Love at 27 there, 18.8 and 13.1. Whew, didn't pay him enough lip service. He's having a resurgent season since he's been moved back to power forward. And he is leading the league in rebounds with 13.1. Wow. Maybe this team just needs a better defensive big. Or maybe they go small ball. We have 2 players above the double-digit assist threshold, Westbrook and Rondo. Chris Paul, kind of surprising that he's under. John Wall, also surprised that he's under. Big shout out to Jeremy Lin in the top 25. Kawhi Leonard, now first team All NBA, first team All Defense rather, is leading the league in steals. Chris Paul hot in his tail. 5 players above the 2 steal threshold. The talent pool is certainly rising. And Rudy Gobert, unsurprisingly, leading blocks per game, 2.5. Derek Favors, yet again, number 2 in field goal percentage. Just low usage enough to be extremely intelligent in the shots that he takes, but still takes enough to be effective. At 3-point percentage. JJ Redick, unsurprisingly, leading. Harrison Barnes at number 3 is pretty crazy. Kyrie Irving at number 5, 45%, just nuts. And it looks like we only have 5 players that are above that 3 3-pointers made threshold right now. So that has collapsed just a little bit, surprisingly, but, you know, low sample size. I think that'll probably go back to being quite a few people. As you can see, we still have so many more players who are hitting more than 2 than we ever did. So 3-point revolution is upon us. Okay, and now let's take a look at system proficiencies. Now that we have a sim of data underneath the bridge, we can see how these have changed, and you'll have your accurate starting 5s here. Okay, now we're going to take a look at contract extensions. Remember that everybody gets 2 contract extensions that they can do during the regular season. And then just 1 in the offseason, excluding rookie contract extensions. Boogie willing to extend for the Kings is amazing for them. A lot of other players, too. Smooth showing loyalty to Orlando's huge for them. Okay, and now let's take a look at upcoming free agents. So remember that this list includes anybody with a team option, anybody with a player option. It includes restricted free agents. It includes players with bird rights. So there are many, many, many of these players that are not actually going to be available. For example, Nikola Jokic, sorry to break it to you, they're going to pick up his team option. You're not going to land Nikola Jokic. But some of these other players, who knows? So good to plan around for your now much expanded cap space. We're not going to have another crazy spike like we had during this season, which really was only 10 million, which was only 3 or 4 million more than the last spikes that we've had, but still notable regardless, especially after we were expecting there to not be an increase at all. I'll go through 80 overalls. Okay, and here are current free agents, so players that you can still sign. I know that a lot of players still have cap space, so keep this in mind. David West and Corey Maggette out front. Both of them probably deserve to be on an NBA roster still. Big shout out Quinn Carl, biggest bust of the Houston Rockets. We'll just go through 74 overalls. And now let me scroll over so you can see the rest of their attributes. A couple of players who may be worth it. If you want to look at any of the young free agents, then just DM me, but I'm not going to include it in this video because it's already gone long enough. Okay, that'll do it. So our next deadline is probably going to be set for Friday evening. That remains a little bit TBD. I just need to coordinate with the mods first. But until then, happy trading, happy signing.